I'm Robert Boss Baines, and you're watching Drinkin' at Moe's.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin' Moe's be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code Drinkin' at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody, welcome to Drinkin' at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, because that YouTube algorithm is a pain in the ass. We are most places you can find the audio podcast too. Today, I'm excited to have with me Robert Boss Baines. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, the sun was out today. The weather in Austin, Texas was nicer than I expected. So, you know, all in all, can't quite complain as much as I usually do.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely worse up here in Nebraska.
Was it? What are you looking at? What kind of temperatures has it dipped to already?
It's been hovering between 30 and 40.
Oh, yeah. Screw that. No. I just flew in from LA, and in LA it was maybe, 60, gorgeous, beautiful sunsets. You could still take your shirt off outside and catch some rays early enough. That was nice. What you've got is that's a cold day in hell.
Yeah. You want to take your shirt off outside right now, you're gonna be cutting glass with your nipples.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, gonna be slicing and dicing.
Oh God, yeah, it's bad. But hey, I can't complain because I do have some exciting stuff coming up. Getting to attend a show in Des Moines for Sami Callihan's promotion, Wrestling Revolver. So that's going to be fun. They got a pretty big card stacked up already. Killer Kelly versus Emi Sakura from AEW in Japan. What was it? The Rascals versus the Grizzled Young Veterans.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. In the States, that's big.
Oh, yeah. And there's, for their tag titles, Alex Colon, Ricky Shane Page, and Steve Macklin versus the Second Gear Crew.
Okay, I don't know the Second Gear Crew.
I know them little bits here and there. I got to meet all but one of them again at Sami Callihan's promotion. So, and seeing them on like GCW and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I got some cool stuff coming up. But the first thing I like to start off with the guests with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started deciding to finally make that leap into the business.
Okay, so I started watching. I can't pinpoint the exact years, but it was late 90s, early 2000s. That was when I started. And it's still hard to describe with the right words. But when I was growing up, I grew up in LA, and my mother is a TV and stage actress. That's what she does. She also does other jobs, but that's what exposed me to performing in general, was watching her and going to her shows and interacting with all those performers. So when I saw professional wrestling and really started to take notice of it for the first time, I knew exactly what I was looking at. I went, these are probably some of the most gifted entertainers I've ever seen. Their ability to project emotion without words is fantastic.
Oh
There's
yeah.
something almost preternatural in it that just it speaks to us as humans, as mammals. The movement without words, you don't need any words to understand what's happening. And that's what I got out of it, was a direct connection from movement to emotion. That's what I appreciated first about it. And as I watched it, I went, I have to do this. I'm not just satisfied watching this and appreciating it, though I do appreciate it. I have to do this. So when I was 21 years old, I actually found a place relatively close to where I was living at the time in LA they were doing a 2-for-1 special introductory thing. You can get in the ring, you can bump around a little bit, they'll give you some instruction. So me and my longtime friend from high school, Joe Galley, who is now the head voice of NWA, we went, tried it out, and really enjoyed it. But we didn't have any money. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money to give. But they were just starting out. There was a place called Slam City. It's not there anymore. Hasn't been there for years. But they were just starting out, and I said, I'll work for you. I'll do anything you need if you train me. And they said, okay. It was a long shot offer. I had nothing to offer them, nothing at all, except I can give you sweat equity. And they took it. And so that's where I started training. And my first 2 trainers were Dan Magnus, who, if you know the name, the guy's incredible. He's like Batman, closest thing to Batman I've ever met in real life. And the other one was Ryan Katz, who's been with WWE for like way more than 10 years now. So those were the guys who started me in the business.
Nice. Ryan Katz, I've actually had him on.
Yeah. He's amazing. His brain for the business is like none other. And I credit him. I mean, I really credit all my trainers for helping me understand different aspects of wrestling. But the showmanship aspect of it, nobody does it better than Ryan Katz. That guy's he's 5'5", but his personality is 10 feet tall. You can't miss it. Yeah. If he's on a microphone, he's got you hooked. That's it.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I remember him from back, and we got to talk about it. Shows like Wrestling Society X,
right,
and XPW, the original one, not the one. Now. They don't seem to like me too much, but
I don't think they like anybody. So I think you're in good company.
Yeah, they blocked me on Twitter and Instagram, but whatever.
I worked with Rob Black a little bit through Ryan. And this is a weird story, but try and keep up with me here. I was in a porno, but I was a stunt man on a porno. They were doing the Justice League porn parody, and they needed some guys to do stunts for some of the actors that were in it. No sex, no nudity, none of that. So I actually was on set with Rob Black directing, and we put together a whole sequence. It was me and 2 other guys whose names I won't mention, even though you would know who they are. But I actually worked with Rob Black during that time in the setting that he is probably known best for, and that was an experience.
I can only imagine. I mean, I've heard some of the stories through, Ryan and through some of the other people I've talked to, and it was an interesting time back then.
Yeah, interesting. Mildly illegal, always immoral, and interesting.
Oh, yeah. And me, I didn't get my start watching independent wrestling until relatively late, because I believe it was around 2008, 2009 when I actually got stationed down in San Diego and just happened to Google pro wrestling in San Diego, and then boom, off to the races I was.
Right. So what was the first show you went to in San Diego?
Oh God, it was a fundraiser for an elementary school,
Was
actually.
it? Okay. Yeah.
And then the next show was literally that promotion's version of like their WrestleMania.
Oh,
And
okay.
a guy that I've actually talked with about being on, who also familiar with XPW, Joey Chaos.
Yeah, I know Joey. I just saw Joey. I was just at Santino's a couple days ago for their show.
Yeah, I've talked with him about coming on, but running Santino's wrestling and all that, and nailing down a date. I mean, hell, I'm persistent because hell, it took me a little over a year to finally get the John Wayne Murdoch episode done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Through the personal issues and some other stuff with the schedule that he keeps, yeah, it took me about a year.
I mean, that's how things sort of pan out in the wrestling business. You have to have patience and persistence, and I have one of those things. I have the persistence, but I do not have the patience. I will bitch, piss, and moan the entire time until I get what I want.
I, depending on the situation, I have a lot of patience. I say that I have a lot of patience, but a low tolerance for bullshit.
Yeah, sure.
But when I see it, something I think is bullshit, it's kind of hard for me not to want to say something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
other than that, persistent and most of the time patience. So, I mean, I'm able to get stuff done.
Yeah.
But the thing that I've enjoyed about recording with people from all over the country and heck, all over the world, really, I've had a couple people on from New Japan, actually. We'll go into that later. But Branded Outlaw Wrestling, not as familiar with them, but
Right.
I like to learn about new places, new promotions, because it gets me my portfolio of what I get to watch even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on down there? Tell me for the people that will end up watching, what is going on down with Branded Outlaw Wrestling?
Branded Outlaw Wrestling. I have to give them their dues on this one. They're actually a much longer running promotion than I knew at the time. They've been running for more than 10 years consistently, really with almost out of break, barring the COVID era. But they've been going a long time. So my hat's off to them for that.
Totally.
What they've been able to do really is have a wide open door policy for a lot of different professionals from a lot of different companies. So you see a lot of guys from the larger companies going into Branded Outlaw and creating matchups that no one can possibly see anywhere else. So they've got New Japan talent. They've got some Impact talent. They've got everybody. It's wild seeing the locals interact with the national guys, interact with the international guys. It's an incredible melting pot of talent, and I'm very grateful that they reached out to me when they did and said, we would like to bring you in to be a part of our organization. And ironically enough, when I was talking to them, it was through the work that I did in LA toward the earlier days of my career that got them interested in me. So they've been longtime fans of mine, and that's why they wanted to bring me into their product at Branded Outlaw. And I feel like what I've been able to do at Branded Outlaw is begin what I hope to achieve is a Texas takeover. I want to take over Texas, much like everyone else is from Los Angeles. You hear so many people complaining locally about all the people from Los Angeles coming into Texas and changing it and making it worse by their definition. Whereas people like me, we see it actually making it better and bringing it into the 21st century where it should be. They don't want to give up any part of their superiority complex. So for people like me, I got to come in and I've got to beat up all the best guys in Texas and in the South, and then show them finally, unequivocally, there is nobody better than those people from Los Angeles, and there is nobody better than Boss Baines. You just can't beat Boss Baines.
You know what? Coming from a guy that, I got my start watching independent wrestling in Southern California, I quickly became aware of why, when it comes to independent wrestling, Southern California has always been known as like one of the meccas of independent wrestling. The sheer talent alone, all up and down that coast, is just second to none.
That's right. It is a temperament of quality over quantity. And there are so many places in the United States that boast quantity of professional wrestling, different regions, but the quality just isn't there. It's just not good enough. So what we've done in LA is we've been able to attract some of the best coaches and some of the best trainers that you can get anywhere in the world, and the opportunity to work with different people in different industries, different entertainment industries, helps to make us that much better as independent wrestlers and entertainers. And our ability to work with not just those in Mexico to learn lucha, but to be the gateway to Japan to learn a Japanese style and a Japanese influence that really, the Japanese style boasts perfection. They believe that they have perfected professional wrestling, and it is incredibly hard to disagree with them on that assertion.
Oh, most definitely. And you know what? While we're on the subject of Japan, you're actually involved in probably the biggest promotion over there, New Japan. And
that's right.
They just I don't know how recent ago now as of recording this, but not long ago, they just had a big show down there in Texas along the same weekend that you had a pretty big weekend with some other stuff. What's it like, being with New Japan and some of the stuff they've been able to accomplish with, their expansion with shows over here in the States?
It's been an incredible opportunity to learn a completely different style of professional wrestling, from both the presentation to the backstage. All of it is on another level. And it's something that a lot of Americans have a problem understanding and getting along with, because they are so strict. It's just in their culture. They expect perfection, and they expect things to be a certain way. And if they aren't a certain way, you're going to hear about it and you're not going to like it very much. But my temperament is, again, going back to what we were first talking about, patience. I can be patient. And when you are dealing with people who are non-English speaking, when you are attempting to translate something that you know about that other people aren't necessarily as well versed in, you have to have patience as they digest the information that you are giving to them. And I'm blessed that I am patient enough to work with them at the very beginning. The first shows that they did in the United States in Long Beach, the G1 special, around 4th of July weekend. I was there for that, and I helped build that from the ground up. And because of my temperament and my desire to continue to work for them, I pursued them to a degree, because I wanted to learn everything there was to learn about how they do things. And 6 years later, I can say that I've got a pretty good understanding of how they do things and how they expect perfection, and how if you do not deliver, either you will be reprimanded or you just won't be asked to return. That is what they're like. They want the highest quality, the best standards. And in my life and in my career, I do too. So we understand each other very well on that level.
Oh yeah, there's a reason why not well New Japan, but really Japanese wrestling in general is known as some of like very intense training, because from the very get-go it's like that perfection. They expect everything going great, and if you're not progressing just yet, then you're not moving up.
That's right.
And sometimes I think sometimes in the States here, there's some places that could probably take a clue from that, because me
Maybe.
I enjoy that style, that intense, no nonsense, just go out and beat the snot out of each other style of it is. Yeah, I remember the first Wrestle Kingdom I saw. The like over here in the States, you see somebody throw a headbutt and you're like, oh, okay, that that it's, I hate using the term fake, but you can tell that there's not so much of a actually hitting the person.
Right.
But then that Wrestle Kingdom show, you could literally hear the bone on bone smack, and I'm like, okay, I have a headache just watching that.
Well, when we built the LA dojo, I trained with Shibata. I was there for the very first test camp that they did, and I was there for every subsequent camp. So I put in a lot of time training with Shibata. I was not selected to be a young boy for a number of reasons, but nevertheless, I put in the time to learn from a master of the sport. And what I learned that isn't taught so much in the United States is that it's not that you're not hitting somebody, because you're always hitting somebody. It's about hitting them in the places that will minimize damage to you and still sting for them, but it will not knock them unconscious right away. There are exceptions, but by and large, you're trying to prove your toughness. And toughness means punishing them slowly and making them get up and making them come back. And that was very much what our training was like, was being punished and then learning to find the will and the energy to get up.
Oh yeah, and hell, you learn from a great one. I mean, just got off a run with a Ring of Honor Pure title, and
right.
the thing that always amazed me when he came back was thinking back that the thing that killed Bruce Lee, he survived it.
Yeah.
And it's just like that, to me, knowing that there, two people in like peak physical condition, it killing the one and Shibata made it through. It's like, holy shit.
I was witness to his decision to pursue wrestling further. He was a coach at the LA dojo and he enjoyed that, but he was not satisfied with that. He did not want to make that his life's work at this time. So that man dedicated himself to staying as physically fit as possible and to continuously push his limitations towards a return. He was not sure if he would ever get that return. He wasn't sure. None of us were ever sure that he would get that return. But his persistence and his dedication have proven that if you are dedicated, you can come back. And I think we're living in an incredible era of early retirements and returns.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that speaks to the certain amount of sports medicine that we have now available to us that the earlier generations just didn't have access to, and the knowledge of the doctors that has just exceeded anything that they knew even 10 years ago. So we are very lucky to live in this era where a person can choose to end their career on their terms more now than they ever were before. And it's a blessing. It really is.
Oh, totally. And, talking about the LA dojo, I actually have one of my best friends and a guest that I will be recording with tomorrow as of this recording. I'm also they were both, tripping over on words here. They were both in the last LA Dojo showcase show.
Okay.
Against each other. Jake Painter and SoCal Crazy.
Well, SoCal. Yeah, sure. And Jake, I think I've met him, but unfortunately I missed the showcase. I'll have to go back and check that out.
I haven't been able to check out the showcase yet. I've seen little clips here and there.
I believe it's on YouTube, if memory serves. I think it's currently on YouTube.
I might have to go check that out and make double sure on that. But yeah, I remember seeing SoCal Crazy post a picture up of the group that was going through the training for the showcase. And I'm just
the academy, going through the LA Dojo Academy.
Yeah, and I was like, holy crap. Like, he was knocking on death's door and then battling back and making up for lost time and getting the opportunity to be there. When I saw that picture, I was like,
yeah,
this is awesome.
Yeah, it's those moments are incredible, and it's endearing as a human being to see that kind of story play out in front of you, that anything's necessarily possible as long as you're committed and you have the dedication and you have the heart and the fortitude to keep going. Anything is possible. It's an incredible story. I mean, those are the kinds of stories that pro wrestling was created to tell.
Exactly. And you know what? We got on New Japan, but there were also pictures that I was kind of jealous of you for this one. You got to attend the premiere of the Iron Claw movie, the movie based on the famous Von Erich family.
Yes.
What was that like? Because I'm definitely going to be seeing the movie, but what was that premiere like for you?
It was, man, it's hard to talk about it without giving anything away. That's the really difficult position I find myself in, is everybody's asking me about it and they want me to talk about it, but they don't want to tell them too much or else, I'm going to give something away. The premiere itself was incredible. It was very small because it was in a local theater in Dallas, and it actually was the theater that they arrested Oswald in, who shot JFK.
Okay.
So they actually have pictures in the theater of the arrest, and they actually have his seat in the theater marked off so that nobody can sit there. So it's a very historic landmark for that reason, but it is in itself a time capsule of back to the time when the Von Erichs still were the pinnacle of professional wrestling inside of Texas and then in the world at large. And I forget who I was talking to. It could have been the director himself who said this, but he said the Von Erichs themselves were like the Kennedys of pro wrestling. And to be in the theater with the man who shot JFK was arrested, there's an interesting, weird straight line right there.
Yeah.
It was a great night. It was incredibly emotional because not only did you have the actors and industry people, but they invited the entire remaining Von Erich family, and they had people who actually worked with the Von Erichs, who are still alive today, and invited them to come to the premiere. So we had somebody behind us was commenting on the movie, of the historical accuracies and inaccuracies during the movie. He was muttering to the person next to him, but in spite of things that didn't line up, the story still rang so resonant to everybody in that theater. And there were moments when the entire theater's heart was in their throat. Everyone was so emotional, and watching the movie, it's an incredible story of it ends up being a story of perseverance in the end.
Oh, most
And
definitely.
I mean, it more than everybody knows the story. So the story it's heartbreaking, just absolutely gut wrenching. But the way that it's shot and the way that the story is presented is so skillfully and artfully done that I was just, my breath was taken away at some of the shots in this movie, and how beautiful they make the art of pro wrestling look. They make it look so brutal, but they make it look like an art form that's fit for the big screen. And it's just fantastic. Everybody who worked on that movie did an absolutely fantastic job.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I wouldn't expect you to give away any of the movie because I'm not about spreading spoilers, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty damn excited. I've rewatched the World Class Championship Wrestling documentary that WWE put out a while back. I've watched that and rewatched it a bunch of times. So when I saw they were coming out with that movie about the family, I'm like, okay, I haven't gone to the theater much lately, but that one,
Yeah.
as soon as I see it's playing near me, I'm going.
It's worth it, but bring a box of tissues. You're going to need it.
I can imagine. And you know what?
Yeah.
That same weekend, you were also with a promotion that I'm a little more familiar with, but Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's promotion.
That was a busy weekend. Holy crap. When you say it like that, I had the premiere, and then I had New Japan, and then I went to Reality of Wrestling. Like, yeah, no, I was really busy that weekend.
Yeah, what was that show like for you? Because I mean, good Lord, the premiere, New Japan, and like Texas, there is a reason why there's memes out there of, one town being like a few miles away, and then the next one says tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. That I inadvertently swapped a big state problem for a different big state problem. I came from LA, so in every direction you have California, in every single direction. I mean, outside of the ocean. And then Texas, I'm in Austin, which is the center of Texas. So I have Texas in every possible direction. But luckily, the regions are so different from each other that you can still go to different cities, and they feel like almost different states sometimes. Like Austin is like the Los Angeles of Texas. They reluctantly agree to this, and it's always been that way. That's not my fault. It has always been a place for the weirdos and the art types and the music people. That's always been Austin. But then you've got San Antonio, which is a little bit more, it's bigger and it's more working class and it's more Hispanic. And then you've got Dallas, which is just Dallas. It's just Dallas. And Dallas. And then Houston, which is something completely different. And it's kind of crazy because they get really like psychotic weather over there. So the people who are there have to be kind of crazy to put up with that. So it's a completely different experience wherever you go. And technically, all of those things are driving distance from each other if you have the time. They're about at most 350, 360 miles away from each other. Actually, yeah, about that. So it's possible to do those four major cities, but it takes time.
Yeah. And I've heard plenty of great things about Booker T's promotion. I know they've been able to bring in, as of late, different NXT talent.
That's
going
right.
in
Yeah.
there.
I was there not this last time, but a little bit earlier to see Trick Williams. Trick Williams, I actually trained him with Brian Kendrick before he got to WWE, right before he signed the contract. So he and I know each other from that, and seeing him turn into what he's become now is truly fantastic. I mean, he's really blowing it out of the water. He's a star. He's got the thing, man. He figured it out, and he looks great. So, reality of wrestling, being able to utilize their contacts through Booker T with NXT helps reality of wrestling, obviously, and it helps their students understand what the next level looks like and what it takes to get to that next thing. And it's important for the younger guys to look at, I don't want to say older, but guys who are a little bit further ahead and understand that they're still trying to chase something. They're still trying to get their hands on a brass ring that sits in the distance, and it gives them something to shoot for. That's a good thing. You need that motivation, especially for the younger guys.
Oh, most definitely. Now, I have two categories here that I'd like rounding stuff off with. One's a bit of a name game where I name off some people. I try to theme it towards the guests, and you give me some quick thoughts on the person. And with your involvement with New Japan, this one where everybody's involved in New Japan some way, shape, or form. And I've even had one of these guys on the show not all that long ago now. So, like I said, I give you the name. You give me some quick thoughts on the person.
Okay.
First one of my personal favorites, one of my current personal favorites right now, Tomohiro Ishii.
Tomo is the blueprint for everything I wish I could be as a professional wrestler. I knew him from before he really got going in the States. I was at some ROH tapings in Las Vegas, and I had a chance to meet him and see his work. He is far and away I can't put it into words. He does what he does so well, and he's able to draw in an audience. When he walked in for that very first G1 special in Long Beach, nobody knew who he was. And by the end of it, he was the most over guy there next to Kenny Omega. There's no question he has something special inside of him, and I hope to be like that one day.
Oh man, like I said, he's one of my personal favorites right now. I love the look when he comes to the ring, especially when if he has a title on him. Mm-hmm. The look on his face literally looks like you'd have to damn near kill him to take that damn thing from him. And I gravitate a lot towards those intense personas that no nonsense, beat the snot out of you. And good Lord, if I was standing across the ring from him, knowing he was coming for me, I'd need a change of pants.
Yes. And I think he's a really good example of the idea of a heavyweight being a mindset and not an actual number on a scale. He is not a heavyweight class wrestler. I've met him. I know his proportions. I'm not ready to give them away, but I'll say this much. He is not your standard heavyweight wrestler, and yet that guy can move people and he can take abuse more than anybody. That is his trademark. That is his stamp, and he's earned everything that he's been given.
Oh, most totally agree with you. Now, next one, my little thing with this guy is when my wife and I, at our wedding, when we were taking pictures, I had this idea for a photo like that one you've probably seen of the groom and the groomsman holding the shirt out and it's the superhero logos, but it was one of his shirts.
Yeah.
And he actually retweeted it. I'm going to I was like beyond excited about him doing it. But I'm talking about Tama Tonga.
Yes, yes. Tomatonga is a really bright spot in things. Whenever I see him backstage, he is always incredibly happy to be wherever he is. He understands that he is trying to promote a legacy of his own family, and so the weight is on his shoulders. But you never see the pressure get to him. He's 100% himself, and he's absolutely a fantastic performer. Like there's nothing he can't do. He's so physically gifted, and he's able to connect with an audience because I feel like he is being so genuine when he is in there. He is so much himself, and so the audience looking at him are looking at the genuine article. They're looking at the man.
Oh yeah, I got nothing but great things to say about him. I'm hoping, like, I have my list in my head, independent and, people from like New Japan and all over. Like my list of people in my head of people I'd love to have on. He is definitely one that, good Lord, just to
It
be
would
able
be
to put
tough
this.
to get him when he's home. He's based out of Florida still, I believe.
Yeah.
But he's spends so much time in Japan, it's
Yeah.
almost impossible to get
Yeah.
even close to the same time zone.
Yeah. No, that would definitely be the battle of it. Next person, the person that I've actually had on the show, he was right around my 100th episode, and now, good Lord, it's even crazy thinking I'm damn near close to my 200th now. But
That's quite a
he's doing,
run.
yeah, he's doing big things, part of the Bullet Club now. Clark Connors.
Clark Connors. Yeah, I met him day one when he came to the dojo. And what's funny is I know the school that he came out of before coming to the LA dojo because I wrestled up in Oregon and Pacific Northwest and up there. That's where he's from originally. So I know where he's coming from. And I think the best decision he could have made was to come to the LA dojo because right away he had the leadership qualities that are very rare and hard to find. He always was one trying to raise others up and pull everybody together and try and work as a unit. And seeing him now in the Bullet Club as part of a larger unit, I think serves him quite well. Even though I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he's with the Bullet Club because they're the Bullet Club and they're just the antithesis of what New Japan Pro Wrestling is. They operate in New Japan, but they are so much against New Japan. It's hard to understand why they exist there at all. But they are very much a unit. And seeing David Finlay kind of pull them together as the new leader of Bullet Club, I think is a good thing, but it's bringing out an incredibly aggressive streak in Clark that I knew was there, but it's just been ratcheted up to 11. He's a killer now because he has to be a killer if he wants to run with them.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they've got some other great people in the ranks. But last but not least for this name game here, there's a couple people that, if you're talking about New Japan, you're thinking of Tanahashi, but you're also thinking of the Rainmaker Okada.
Yeah. Okada is on another level. Like he treats professional wrestling like it's his own personal game. He gets so much enjoyment out of professional wrestling, and he's just there to do what he wants to do. Everything that you see Okada doing, he enjoys it 100%. Obviously more when he's winning than when he's losing, but what's his longest losing streak ever looked like? You know, maybe a handful of losses. But he is a guy who enjoys what he does to the absolute fullest. And he enjoys being the guy who is able to do the hard things. He wants to go the hour. He wants to challenge his mind and his body to the degree that some people just think is insane. He finds enjoyment in that. He wants to be the pinnacle. Then that's exactly what he is. He is one of the pillars of that company, kind of by choice. He wanted that position, so he moved in and he took it, not by backstabbing or anything dirty like that. He earned it. Again, another guy who earns his spot. He came in, he outworked everybody. He has a fantastic attitude. He is the rainmaker. That's it.
Totally agree. Now, I have some random questions here. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. Some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. That's why it's random. But I give you the question, you give me first answer that pops in your head.
All right.
First one of them that I like to keep in here because I love some of the stories that I've been able to hear, and I've heard some doozies. Craziest in-match moment for you?
I was in a match once where a dog jumped in the ring. Yeah, okay. A very large dog. It was not like a Chihuahua or anything like that. We were in a standard sized ring, and I was wrestling in LA, and it was like at an art gallery or something like that. It was a cool show. I got paid in like clothing, which was different. It was nice stuff. But there was a dog that jumped into the ring in the middle of the match, and it was like a pit bull. It was a pretty good size. It had to jump from the ground into the ring. And to our credit, like we were like, dog. And then it kind of, its owner called it, and then it ran out of the ring, and we immediately went back to beating each other. Like we barely skipped any time at all. It was like, dog, pause for dog, start fighting again. Like we didn't miss a beat. That was definitely weird. I'm sure there've been crazier ones, but that was the first one that popped into my head.
Oh, yeah, I can understand why that would. I know I've been able to witness some rather crazy moments. One involving one of my best friends where it was like their version of the Money in the Bank ladder match. He had a guy up on his back like the Sheamus and the White Noise, and the ladder bridged between the ring apron and the guardrail. And I see him look down, and I'm like, do not tell me. And he did it. Ladder folded, and I'm like, ouch.
Yeah, I was in a couple of ladder matches, and what happens in the match largely depends on how much money they were willing to shell out for the ladders. So you have various kinds of ladders, and the aluminum ones snap so easily. I remember I was in a match once, and we broke all except one. But I needed another one to get to the thing that was up on the ceiling. So in the middle of the match, I grabbed the leg and had to bend it back into position so that I could put my weight on it. It was a moment.
Yeah, and I've also been a fan of deathmatch wrestling and got to see my actual first legit deathmatch, and not just deathmatch, but it's just a tag slapped on there. It was actually at Sami Callihan's promotion, and it ended by them taking 4 folding chairs, bridging 2 panes of glass, and then, well, the glass was lit on fire.
I'm a fan of weapons. Let me not get that wrong. I'm a fan of weapons. But there is a degree to where it just gets so ridiculous. It just looks like a guy wearing several hats at the same time. And you go, these hats aren't doing anything for you anymore. You could punch a guy in the face and knock him out, or pile up a bunch of glass, light it on fire, yada, yada, yada. Did he kick out, or was that the actual finish?
That was the finish.
Oh, well, thank God for that, because what are you going to do that's bigger than that?
I know,
My
right?
wife likes deathmatch wrestling, and I'm more of an old school deathmatch guy. I like the purists that were afraid of the weapons. I think the lack of fear is something that normal people can't relate to. Everybody's scared of these things, so these guys were a little bit more afraid. I think the audience would help. It would help them connect a little bit more. But I've just pissed off a bunch of people with that take, so whatever.
Hey, I've had plenty of people on from the deathmatch world, including, I mentioned John Wayne Murdoch. I brought him up a little earlier, Alex Colon. But the thing that I've discussed with all of them is, yeah, it's not everybody's cup of tea. We'll say there's people that enjoy it. There's people, but it's like any other form of wrestling. There's people that like it. There's people that don't.
Yeah.
Nobody's wrong for liking it or not liking it. That's just their taste.
I'll tell you this, I cannot retire until I have a barbed wire match of some kind. That's going to be the thing. I want that for me. Not a death match, because I don't like the light tubes. I physically cannot do it for medical reasons. But I want barbed wire. Give me that challenge, and I will sink my teeth in happily.
I've been lucky enough to sit front row for a no rope barbed wire match once, and yeah, that was intense.
Yeah, I'll bet.
All right. Now, another question that I like to keep in here, because I feel weird with the name of a show like I have if I didn't have this question. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non, or one of each, because I've always tried to tell people that just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean that it has to be alcoholic. Because I've had plenty of people.
If you notice tonight, it's a margarita. I've been sipping on a margarita. I came prepared. I know where I'm going to be, and I'm prepared accordingly. But as far as hard alcohol is concerned, I pretty much drink anything. I like beer. I've always liked beer. But I'll drink vodka. I'll drink. I like gin, which is something that a lot of people don't like for some reason. I actually
my wife
do like it. Yeah, I like it. But if it's non-alcoholic, I really only drink two things: water and coffee. I almost always have a cup of coffee in my hand. When I don't have it, I've actually heard from people, where's your cup? Are you okay? Do you need me to get you a cup of coffee? Like, I am so synonymous, and it's black. There's nothing in it. Absolutely nothing. I like black coffee, and I drink a lot of it. So that's it. That's me.
Yeah, I've always been more of a beer guy, but when it comes to the hard liquor, I pretty much stick to tequila and whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Rock's Terramana, smooth. Like, you put that stuff in a margarita, you're gonna want to watch how many of them you drink.
Yeah. Deceptive.
Oh God, yeah. Like, you think, oh, I'm fine, and then before you know it, you're like, everybody looks so pretty.
Yeah, like Austin is an alcohol town. One of the jokes my father-in-law likes to make is they've got full bars at playgrounds too. They got full bars at churches. There's no place can't find a full bar in Austin, Texas, and it's almost true. So if it helps to have like a wide palette of things that you like, because everywhere you go is going to have something different, and it's going to be something really good. So you can try this wide variety of things that you've never had before, some really unique stuff. And it just helps being somebody who likes everything a little bit, so you can appreciate everything.
Oh yeah. No, I've always been somebody that's willing to try just about anything once, And then if I like it from there, hey, I'll keep with it. But yeah, I've had my times when I drank a little more than I do now. Albeit the military, yeah, I oh god,
Yeah,
some
sure.
of the stories I have from back then. Yeah. One in particular I will go into because I haven't told a story in a while. Every foreign port, you had to apply for overnight liberty if you didn't want to have to go back to the ship. And we're in, I'm wanting to say Singapore, and we were getting absolutely hammered. There was this package that we sprung for that was like an upgrade where you got this in the hotel. There's a private guest only bar, and the drinks were pretty much all included. So, but there were people going up there, they'd take one at a time, they'd sit there for a while. Me and my friends, we were taking like two at a time, downing them quick, going back, getting more. And then, good Lord, we go do some stuff at another bar. We go back to the hotel, but there was a McDonald's around the corner. And we went and got like, each of us got like a bag full of double McChickens and stuff. And then we ended up getting called back early because of something, but we were all in bed, and my bed happened to be the one by the phone. I learned later that I apparently got the guy that originally called not so happy because they were trying to be like, oh, you need to be back here by midnight. And I'm like, apparently, midnight? It's already midnight. I can't be in two places at once. Somebody else had to call back. Then we got back on the ship, and yeah.
In quite a state. Your state followed you back to the ship.
Yes. Yes. That next day was not a fun one.
So I've got a little bit of a drinking story. It's not a very long one. I am a very discerning drinker. I only drink good stuff. I don't drink Bud Light. I don't drink cheap stuff or anything like that. However, I was out after an NXT show, hanging out with the talent, and this was the time when Samoa Joe was the champion. I'm hanging out with everybody, and Samoa Joe comes up to me and hands me a Bud Light. I would not drink a Bud Light if my head was on fire and you said, I'll put it out. If you drink this Bud Light, I would not drink it. But when the champion hands you a beer and says, here, this is for you, you drink the beer. You drink the damn beer.
Especially a guy like Samoa Joe handing you a beer. I'm like, okay. I would not.
We have to do this. It's disrespectful if you don't. You're in somebody else's house, and if you do not eat or drink their stuff, they're going to be mad at you. So drink it. Act like you like it.
Oh yeah, like I have my stuff that I prefer over Bud Light and all that. But if that's what somebody has, I mean, like, yeah, with Samoa Joe, I'll drink it. Like one of my personal favorites is Stone Cold's Broken Skull American Lager.
Yeah. I was just I go out to LA very often, and I stay in El Segundo when I'm there. And El Segundo Brewing is the one who makes all that. So I've had it fresh not very long ago. It's fantastic. It's so damn good.
Yeah, I had it. I bought it when I went on a road trip with my dad to my first ever Packers game up in Lambeau Field. And here in Omaha, they don't sell it for some damn reason.
Maybe it's the alcohol content? Could be.
I don't know. But they had it up there in Green Bay, so I found a grocery store that had it, and I bought the last pack of it.
Nice.
And I brought it back, and closest they sell it to me now is Kansas City, but luckily my brother-in-law lives there, so I have an in to get some.
Nice. So you got an in.
Yeah, I got an in. Now, this question I like to think about because there's people out there that say with like large lottery jackpots, like, oh, you could never spend that much money. And I always tell them, you give me that much money and watch me. But the question here is, if you won a big lottery jackpot and had what I like to call fuck it money, what's one of the first things you'd get?
Well, first things I would get. Oh, that's so tricky. Um, Maybe like a Winnebago. Well, that sounds weird.
Yeah,
Coming from me.
I can see
It's
the
like,
appeal to it.
right, right. You can travel all over the place. You don't need a hotel necessarily, but like I like traveling. The driving aspect of it, not so much, but the ability to stop at your leisure and sleep whenever you want to, that's appealing. But if it's just a ton of money, like I'm traveling everywhere, that's what I'm doing. Like I'm not necessarily buying any one thing in particular, but it opens the doors to me to where I don't have to think about what the cost would be to travel someplace. I'm just going. I'm going to do whatever it is I want to do, wherever it is I want to do it, because now the gloves are off and I can just do it. That's
Oh
that's
yeah,
what I'm doing. I'm not a big purchases guy. I'm not somebody who's tied to a lot of stuff. I own my house, but I'm happy with that. I'm not looking to expand. I'm not looking to buy an apartment building next. I'm not looking to flip houses or any of that stuff. I
yeah.
just want to be able to have the freedom to do what the hell I want, wherever the hell I want to do it. That's what I want. That's what I'm buying.
Oh yeah. No, I like that thinking because it's still on my bucket list, a dream trip of mine to actually go to Wrestle Kingdom. And I've seen these videos of different things from over in Japan, these capsule hotels.
Mm.
But I'm like, and then I've also seen these different travel videos where these people are like in these like amazing first class seats where it's like it's almost like a leaning back into a
Yes,
bed
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
They're like pods on planes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
like,
what I
you know
want to
what?
do.
My dream trip would be to sit in one of those seats, stay in one of those capsule hotels, and go to Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah,
That
that
would be
is
something I'd do.
that's a perfect goal. It's a perfect goal, in my opinion. Yeah, I hope you get to do that.
No, yeah, I'm. We'll see if that ever gets to happen. It's a dream of mine. But last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Uh it's such a tricky time
Yeah.
now. When I started, it was like there's a phrase that I have taken from the British, and it's the past is another country. And it's so true. The past is a completely other country. When I started in 2009, it was the bottom of the business. Like the industry was in just the worst shape. It was just terrible. And it's changed so much for the better now. But the best advice I can give to anybody right now would be just find a quality trainer. Don't just find anybody near you. Try and find a quality trainer. I was incredibly lucky because my first trainer was so dedicated. He didn't have much, Ryan Katz didn't have much of a pedigree. When I went to him, he was on a couple of shows, but beyond that, he didn't have a great depth of a resume. But he was so smart and so dedicated. He became an asset to WWE after I had met him already. So I was very lucky in that regard. But if I was to do it again, I would seek out the best trainer that I possibly could and just try and learn as much as you can. Um, and learn things that you don't necessarily think are valuable or necessarily important because you do not know how those things are going to benefit you later on. In hindsight, you can always look back and go, oh, I wish I had learned how to da da da. But may I say, when the opportunity presents itself, take it. Take the opportunity to learn something new and learn something different and open yourself up to being more versatile in professional wrestling, because there are those people who are performers and then they get injured and they have nothing else to offer because that's all that they are, is performers. If you are able to be a utility in any place that you are, in the ring, in the back, on the camera, doing any of those things, you will be in the business as long as you want to be in the business. And your ability to choose your comings and goings is a gift. The gift of options and the gift of freedom is highly underrated. That is what people want most in wrestling, are options. They want different companies to go to. They want to choose where they're going to be next. That's what they want. And the best way to do that is to be versatile.
Oh, most definitely. Because, I think the thing that people nowadays benefit from getting into business is there's so many legitimate great trainers out there. Like, no matter what area of the country you're in, like Southern California's got a bunch, Texas has got some great ones, Florida, Northeast, Midwest, we got our growing ones that got some great talent here that I personally think it gets a little bit slept on, but that's a whole nother story for another time. But back to the point, a while back, the choices were kind of limited, but now there's so many great options out there that if you really do your homework on, you're gonna find somebody that will do you a great service getting to sit under their learning tree.
Yeah, it's very true. That's very true.
Now, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
On social media, I am at Baines Destroy on X now and Instagram. And my email is robertbaineswrestling@gmail.com. Those are the best ways to contact me. Feel free to slip into my email. I'm always watching.
All right. We'll get all of that in the description. But before we go, thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Best of luck out there with everywhere from Branded Outlaw to New Japan and everywhere in between.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.